Back off, shorty.
You don't know karate. Ah!
Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm John, and today we're going to be talking about the 2008 black comedy In Bruges. But we're also here to talk about its brand new Kino Lorber 4K Blu-ray that was just released. But before we dive into all that, if you are a fan of 4K Blu-ray reviews, movie reviews, tech reviews, game reviews, we try to do them all here on the channel. Nothing would help us out more than by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. So In Bruges came out in 2008. It is a black comedy and is directed by Martin McDonagh. It stars Ralph Fiennes, Colin Farrell, and Brendan Gleeson. And Martin McDonagh has directed 3 films. He's actually got his 4th film coming out later this year. He directed this, then he directed 7 Psychopaths, and then he directed 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. All of them are very similar in tone, and all of them are very, very, very well written, because Martin McDonagh was a Tony Award winning playwright before he actually got into films, and he really knows how to write screenplays. As a director, he's pretty good, but as a screenwriter, he is phenomenal. That is the star of this film, is the actual screenplay for it. It is so beautifully written. All 3 of the main characters, played by Colin Farrell, Ralph Fiennes, and Brendan Gleeson, are all tremendously written with great backstories that aren't overly explained, yet we kind of unravel what makes each of them work and which makes each of them tick and what are each of their morals. It's well written right into the screenplay. It really is just a wonderful character study combined with some really funny and dark scenes, which for me, I have a really dark sense of humor, so the screenplay for this is just beautiful. And then you get 3 great actors to put on your screenplay on film like this, shot in such a beautiful location like Bruges, which is in Belgium. This is a real town in Belgium. They really shot this on film in Belgium, in Bruges, and a lot of these scenes are lit naturally by the actual beautiful setting that is in Bruges. So this is his first directorial film, and I love it. For me, out of his 3 films for Martin McDonagh, this is his best film. I really do enjoy 7 Psychopaths. To a lesser extent, I really did enjoy 3 Billboards Out of Ebbing, Missouri. For me, it was kind of a one and done. I really did enjoy Sam Rockwell's performance in it, and I am really glad that he finally got an Academy Award for it. So at the very least, I can say, you know what? At least Sam Rockwell got his Academy Award, even if that film doesn't work as well as this film and as 7 Psychopaths. So I'm going to actually spoil this film for you guys, because I really do want to talk about all 3 of these characters and how funny and how well written these characters are, and I just want to kind of explain the entire plot of this movie. So if you haven't seen this, I can recommend this film very, very, very highly. I really do love it. I get enjoyment out of it every time I see it. And I really do think you will too. So if you haven't seen this, I can recommend checking this film out and then coming back and checking out my thoughts on it. But don't check these thoughts out until you've actually seen the film, because I really don't want to spoil anything for you, because I really do think you're in for a treat if you haven't checked out In Bruges yet. So at the beginning of this film, Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell's character, they're in Bruges. They've been sent by their boss, Ralph Fiennes. They're pretty low-level hitmen. They basically work under Ralph Fiennes' character. He sends them there because, unfortunately, Colin Farrell's character, while trying to kill a priest, accidentally kills a young boy, and Ralph Fiennes has certain morals about killing kids, even if it's completely accidental like this was. I mean, as far as accidental can go, you were still there to kill another man. As far as being accidentally killing another person, there's consequences for that, and he has to sleep on it. So he sends Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell to where he had his favorite holiday of all time when he was 7 years old. He sends them to Bruges. Right out of the gate, Brendan Gleeson loves Bruges, while Colin Farrell's character hates Bruges. He refers to it as a shithole, whereas Brendan Gleeson's character is kind of enjoying the peacefulness of it, the sightseeing, and just a time for him to sit back and reflect on his life, because unfortunately for Brendan Gleeson, as we find out, he's had a pretty hard life. Yes, he's a hitman, it's what he does. We find out that in the 70s, unfortunately, his wife, who happens to be a black woman, was killed by a white man, and when they're discussing racial issues, he's like, well, I'm a white man, but my wife was killed by a white man, so what side would I fall on as far as the conversation that they're having at that time? And it really gives you a look into what makes this man tick. He's kind of a broken man. He's a sad man. He really doesn't have much left except for his work. Ralph Fiennes' character actually ended up killing the man who killed his wife. So Brendan Gleeson feels indebted to him just from the beginning, just to the fact that, the law probably wouldn't take care of this, but you did, so I'm here to do your dirty work. And unfortunately, right now, his dirty work is to kill Colin Farrell. He's tasked, he did kill a kid, is basically what he said to him. He's like, I can't give him a pass on that, but at least I gave him a nice last holiday in Bruges. And just the fact that Ralph Fiennes thinks that Bruges is the greatest place in the entire planet is just unbelievable to me. And it's funny, because I don't think Brendan Gleeson believes him. He thinks that he sent them there because of money, because at one point Colin Farrell's like, why not the Bahamas? And he's like, it's cheap. So that's pretty much what he's saying. But I really do believe that if Ralph Fiennes had a place that he could visit on this planet, I do think he would pick Bruges. So I do think there was some genuine feelings about Bruges from his character, and that's why he did send Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson there, is because he really did want them to enjoy themselves, and he wanted Colin Farrell to have a great last week before Brendan Gleeson sneaks up behind him and blows his brains out. That's where the twist happens, as Brendan Gleeson is finally working up the nerve to kill Colin Farrell's character. At the exact same time, Colin Farrell is working up the nerve to kill himself, because he himself cannot live with the fact that he killed a little boy. Even as unintentional as it was, he can't rest his head at night knowing that that's what he did. I can understand that completely. I don't know how you move on from that. And Ralph Fiennes' character makes it very clear also, the reason why you have to kill him is because if he himself did that, Ralph Fiennes, if he himself had killed a little kid, he would instantly turn that gun on himself and blow his brains out, because his character cares about kids. Kids are innocent. You know, anyone else is pretty much free game, but you don't kill kids. You can see that the father in him will just not allow that to happen, so he can't move past the fact that Colin Farrell did this, as innocent as it was. So when Brendan Gleeson sees him attempt to kill himself, he says, you know what, this kid, he got a bad break, and I have to break the one rule. I have to end my friendship with Ralph Fiennes. I'm going to let him know. I'm going to be a man about it. I'm going to put this kid on a train. I'm going to send him out of here. I'm going to tell Ralph Fiennes' character, I'm going to wait right here in Bruges for him, and I'm going to accept the consequences no matter what those consequences are. If he wants to kill me, let him kill me. If he wants to let me go, let me go. I accept that wholeheartedly because I am in debt to him, and that's the honorable thing to do. Both Brendan Gleeson and Ralph Fiennes' characters are very honorable men. Like, Ralph Fiennes could have been a very one-note, over-the-top, angry boss like we've seen a million times, and we see like that's what he's gonna be. Like at one point he just destroys the phone when he first gets this news, and then he flips out on his wife and calls her a fucking irrelevant object, but then he apologizes to her, and then he says goodbye to his kids, and we see, okay, there's a warmness to him. There's like, he just has certain morals that he will not allow to be broken. There's an honor in him, and even Brendan Gleeson's character recognizes in him that, like, yeah, your personal morals, as fucked up as they may be, there is a real honor behind them, and something you actually have to respect in them. And yeah, these are all low-level gangsters, all low-level hitman. Even Ralph Fiennes, I think they're all pretty low, so they're not the brightest, all three of them. They're not, you know, Colin Farrell especially is not the brightest of characters that you've definitely seen on screen. He's actually kind of a, you know, he means well, but he doesn't have a filter on his mouth, so he always kind of says what he's thinking, and there's a great thing with this heavyset family, and he's like, oh, you guys aren't going to fit up there. And, you know, most people would just, like, kind of, like, hint around it, like, you know, it's kind of narrow and everything. That's what Brendan Gleeson's character does, but he's like, you're all a bunch of elephants. And it's like, you know, come on, you know, read the room. And that's his biggest flaw as far as the character is. He kind of just says what's on his mind when he really shouldn't be doing that all the time. But he means well. He's innocent. And that's just one thing I love about this screenplay, is how all three of these characters are played very different, but they all have different backstories, and we get to unravel and see what makes them tick and what makes them work. And all three characters were phenomenal in this movie. I had a hard time picking which performance I liked more, because I really do think that all three complement each other, and this whole screenplay and this entire film wouldn't work without them, and having them where they need to be. So I wouldn't remove one of them, and I can't pick a favorite. I'm just going to say I love all three of them. So this leads to the end of the film, where Ralph Fiennes shows up in Bruges to either kill or let Brendan Gleeson go, but it turns out that Colin Farrell has gotten arrested and sent back to Bruges. So the one country, the one fucking town I didn't think he's in, well, he's back there. Once Ralph Fiennes realizes this, he's like, well, unfortunately, the deal where I just shot you in the leg is over. He has to pretty much just shoot him in the neck and try and go after him. And even him and Colin Farrell make a little bit of a deal where he's like, if you can get away, I'll let you go, but I'm going to try and kill you anyway. And he pretty much fires 4 bullets through his stomach before he ends up stumbling onto a movie set. And, you know, we don't know if he dies or lives. But he does say right before the camera cuts away to the very closing credits that he wants to live. Well, in that shootout, Brendan Gleeson accidentally kills a dwarf, who actually plays a pretty minor part in this film as well, but he's dressed up like a little kid, so he actually himself thinks he just killed a little kid, just like Colin Farrell's character. So he's like, well, you know what? I'm a man of my word. You gotta stick by your principles.
You've got to stick to your principles.
Puts that gun in his mouth and blows his brains out of the back of his head. So there's no happy ending for anyone. We kind of believe that, you know, hey, Bruges is kind of this fairy tale town. It's got these bright lights from the camera, from the lighting on the set that they were on as we were fading to black. And he's like, I really, really, really wanted to live. And I don't think he does, to be honest. I don't see a situation where you get these bullets, which we find out early in the film, they're called dum-dums, pretty much can blow a man's head apart. I don't think getting 4 of those through your stomach and chest is going to really I don't think you're surviving. As much as I want to hope you do, I don't think Colin Farrell survives this film. So as far as a film, I can recommend this very, very, very highly. I really do love the screenplay. I love the direction. It's shot beautifully on location. It's a great film. I mean, it's not a film for everyone. It's very dark. The comedy is very, very dark. I have a dark sense of humor, so this kind of worked out perfectly for me. But this might not fit everyone's sense of humor. You might find the subject matter a little too dark for your taste, and I completely understand that. But if you can get past that, I promise you're in for a treat. This is a film that should have won the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay in 2008 that actually ended up going to Milk. This would have been my personal choice from that year. It's just a phenomenal screenplay, so I can recommend this highly. But we're also here to talk about its brand new 4K Blu-ray from Kino Lorber. So Kino Lorber actually puts out a lot of great 4Ks. A couple weeks ago we were talking about what our favorite boutique studio is, and I didn't mention Kino Lorber on there, but they really do a great job at preserving old films. Now this isn't an old film, it's a 2008 film, and it's under the Kino Lorber Studio Classics thing, so this kind of falls under the same line as like Out of Sight that they released earlier this year. I just love the attention and the detail they do on their restorations and bringing them to the 4K format. And this is one of the best visually looking 4Ks I have seen all year, bar none. So this has Dolby Vision on it, and it really does a great job. Like I said, this film was shot in 2008, and it was still shot on celluloid, shot on 35mm film, and that really lends itself the best to the 4K format, because pretty much you're downscaling what the original film looks like to put it on 4K, and then to throw some Dolby Vision on it. This film has never looked better. It won't look better. It's looked better than any of the other times I've seen it. The thing about shooting on film is you get that little bit of film grain, and I didn't actually realize that this was shot on film. I assumed from 2008 that this was shot digitally, but it wasn't. So I'm watching, I'm like, wow, there's a good amount of film grain. It's very, very, very clear, this film. The resolution is super high. Then I looked it up, and I saw that it was shot on celluloid, and I was like, okay, I see why this is just transferring beautifully to 4K, because visually this was stunning. At one point I was thinking, okay, this is probably the best looking 4K I have seen this year, as far as visuals go, because I was just blown away at how good it looked. Bruges itself is a beautiful country. It's an old country, and the fact that they used a lot of the natural lighting to make this place look beautiful, a lot of just the background lighting, and everything is so clear and crisp. It was gorgeous. I can't sell the visuals on this any higher. I thought it was amazing. There was one particular scene that I actually, when I first was watching it on my Sony LED last night, I was like, okay, there's a scene early in the film where Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell are talking to each other. The room is darkly lit, and Colin Farrell, half his face kind of looks inky and like gray and not black where it should look black. So then this morning I tested that out on my OLED TV, and that did fix the problem. So it was probably my TV in that one scene. I did actually try it out without Dolby Vision. That also fixed that problem. So it might just be a slight Dolby Vision problem for about, I don't know, 5 or 6 seconds, but it's nothing crazy, nothing that's going to take you out of it. I just wanted to point it out to you guys that, if you do notice that kind of inky looking shot early in the film, it just seems like it's just one little minor issue, one minor little hiccup. Nothing that's going to really, I would say, deter you from actually picking up this 4K, because like I said, visually, this is one of the best 4Ks I have seen this year. I was blown away at how good it looked. Now, audio-wise, it is a DTS HD 5.1, and there's also a DTS HD 2.0 on here, so you have your choice. The 5.1 was pretty good. This is a very dialogue-heavy driven film, so you're going to actually just want the dialogue track to be the highest, and I do think that they got the right balance as far as that, because yes, there are some good needle drops as far as songs playing throughout the film, and that really does make good use of all your speakers. And there's a shootout towards the end where Ralph Fiennes is chasing Colin Farrell in the streets of Bruges, and that's when they were finally shooting at each other, and the score itself is rising, and that's really the best part of this entire sound mix, is like towards the end with that one shootout where I think the sound really does show and shows you how good of a sound mix it is on here, because for the most part this is a very quiet dialogue driven film where you don't need a Dolby Atmos track. Would a Dolby Atmos track have been nice? Sure, absolutely, but it's also pretty much unnecessary to a film like this, where I don't think it was necessary to have it on here. I thought the DTS 5.1 did enough to make it seem worthwhile, and I don't think it needs any more than that. It's not an audio heavy film to where you're going to want to have the best audio quality available to you. I think this is more than satisfactory enough for you. Now, as far as extras go, they're all on the second Blu-ray disc, and they are basically you know, they're pretty bare bones, I'm gonna say, but I still really did appreciate there's a 4-part featurette showing the making of In Bruges and talking with all the lead actors, Martin McDonagh, everybody pretty much involved with the film, and that was my favorite part. I love that. I would have liked it personally, this is just a minor complaint, I would have liked that all in one big kind of documentary style film. I don't like that I have to go back and click each part. I mean, it's a minor complaint, 21st century problems where, you know, just stupid complaints that I have. No point in that. It's not really a big deal at all. And then the rest of them, you know, there's bloopers. They have every single one of the original theatrical trailers in every language on here. So it's really not the greatest of extras, but having that 4-part featurette for me really does help, and that's my personal favorite. But if that's not your thing, then I think you might be a little bit disappointed by the extras, and I understand that. Now, as far as the casing goes, you get your slipcover, that nice Kino Lorber slipcover with the beautiful design on it. I love the pink over the poster. I always like that. I'm a big guy who doesn't... I like things that stand out in the crowd, and, you know, the pink font is always going to stick out on a shelf, and I like that they chose that for this. And then, you know, you get the same poster underneath. Inside, you get your 2 discs. They got your standard Kino Lorber disc. No disc design, just your Kino Lorber disc. You know, I would obviously prefer some individual disc design rather than your standard stock disc design. But, you know, again, minor complaints, just something that I appreciate that not everyone might even care about. But something I want to bring up anyway, because it does kind of always get to me, and I always appreciate it when they put that little extra effort in. So overall, can I recommend this 4K Blu-ray release? Absolutely 110%. I don't know how many people have seen In Bruges, but as far as the film goes, it is a phenomenal film. It's not a 10 out of 10, but it's getting pretty close for me every time I watch this film. This is a kind of film that I really get into, something where a beautiful screenplay, beautiful writing really takes center stage. For me, I'll always take that over some action-heavy film with very, very, you know, low story. I always prefer something with a great story, great character development. I'll take a character piece any day of the week, and it's one like this with some dark comedy. It's like they got in the lab and made me a movie, and this is what they came up with, and I really did love it. And the 4K itself is gorgeous. The visuals are stunning. You're going to want to see that for yourself. I promise you, you will not be disappointed by the visuals. The audio, like I said, it's not the greatest of audio, but I don't think it needs it. The DTS 5.1 does more than enough. This is a dialogue-heavy film. The dialogue comes in crystal clear, so you really can't complain more than that. The extras, like I said, also, they're not the greatest of extras. You're not going to get any bonus disc or anything on here, just of extras. You got them on the Blu-ray disc. It's enough, but it's not over the top. It doesn't take it to the next level. It's more, I would say, passable, but not bad either. And as far as case design, also pretty good. It's pretty standard Kino Lorber stuff, but I like what they do, so I definitely appreciated that. So overall, I'm going to give this entire package, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10, because like I said, I do think that Arrow Video or Criterion would definitely take it a little bit further, but for a phenomenal film like this, Kino Lorber did a great job. The visual transformation is unbelievable. You're going to want to see that. It's right now, I believe, $27, and I think that is definitely in the sweet spot of pricing. If you can get it on a Black Friday deal for like 20 bucks, it's still worth it then. I think it's worth it at full price. Personally, I would grab this had I not already grabbed it, because I think it's great, and I think it's a film that you're going to want to see. And if you're into dialogue, heavy films, stuff that's going to make you laugh, even though, you know, you kind of feel uncomfortable laughing about it, this is the film for you. I could totally recommend this 4K. And that's really going to do it here for me, guys. So if you are a fan of Let's Talk, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and tell all your friends.